Testing, testing. How do I look? Am I slouched? I slouched my ass off in this chair. Oh man, let me go ahead and start by apologizing right before we even start saying anything because I know this episode is going to come out late. My apologies. I just had a bit of a hectic weekend. I guess the week leading up to it was actually a bit stressful. Finally, like when you work at a retailer, this time of the year is probably the most impactful, with Black Friday, holiday shopping. Everyone wants to scramble out all these reports. Actually, that would be a good topic. Just like the absolute nonsense that is within corporate America. Because there's this thing, and I don't know if I should be saying this because I got stuff on social media now, but it's not like they're going to check this. It's not like I'm that vital to the company, right? At our company, we do this thing where it's like, hey, we made this particular change to the website. We want to know how many dollars does that equate to? So, for example, right, like I added a color filter to a page that you load into with all the icons where you select a product. That is called a product load page. Then you click on an actual product. That is called a product detail page. Just dropping game for y'all. Now, the main goal is to get someone to a product detail page, especially someone that is kind of going through the journey, right? They go to the homepage screen, they click on men's shoes. They see all these shoes, and conversion, for those that don't know, because why would it be common knowledge? It's like 1.7% for just those people that get on a load page. When you get to a detail page, that same person throughout that journey, conversion jumps to like a 3.8. And so if you're filtering, more than likely, you're going to get to that page a little bit better. All of that doesn't even matter to this story. What we do at the company is basically like, hey, we made this change. We want to know how many dollars did that equate to. So I made this one change and it equaled X amount of dollars. A kind of normal thing to do. Normally, groups that do A/B testing would do this kind of thing where it's like, okay, we made this change on the site. We got to give it at least 90 days to cement because the customer that comes to the site on a regular basis still has to pick up on that new feature. So in this case, we make changes probably a week before. So normally a group that does A/B testing would do this. And in this past week, since our group isn't the most, I guess the company isn't the most ironed out, and we like to just kind of make changes on the fly, that's what I've been doing. So last week was a bit hectic with all that crap. And the nonsense behind it, and we'll go into this, we'll definitely have this as a future topic, where it's just like, yeah, I made this change and it equated to $2 million. That's just nonsense, right? Like there's no way that you made this one little change and it completely changed the course of everyone shopping on the site to that dollar amount, right? You could say one thing where you prove it to be like, okay, we had this many people now filter on a more frequent basis because now they have a color filter available to them. But in reality, it's like, no, you're just converting at a higher rate because of all this cash back stuff going on due to holiday season, right? And people are on a more, like during this holiday season, you buy because you have to buy. Oh, snap. I got to get this person a gift. I have to go get it. I am now more willing to pay full price at this time of the year than any other time of the year. So that color filter that you're measuring as, this success opportunity and this dollar amount, there's so many other folds that go into that. But, when it comes to all this reporting stuff, right, you got to send it up to whatever manager, whatever director, whatever VP. It becomes more and more nonsense as it goes up to the top, right? Because they don't want like the granular, super deep into the weeds kind of thinking. They just want a number. They just want a number that they can report out and be like, yeah, we made these changes. It led to this dollar amount. So therefore we are doing good. All that to say, I've been a little bit busy this past week, a long, strong way to say that. And in addition to that, my parents came to town this weekend. They came to town, and two friends that I've mentioned on this podcast before, Sim and Aman, came to town as well. The newlyweds. This was actually their first trip as a not a little married couple, but a married couple. And look, for those that know me, I stress a bit. I stress mainly over wanting to host to a good, to a certain standard. To a certain standard. I want people to, when they come to town, feel welcome, feel comfortable, not feel stressed out. I want them to see certain things of LA, not do things that are more LA or more California than they can do or do in their hometown. So I try to make a full itinerary. Now, it's one thing when you're planning stuff for a couple of friends, but it's another thing when you're planning stuff for friends, or sorry, when you're planning stuff for your parents, right? It's a certain level of stuff, right? You're not going to really take them to bars at night. You're not really going to do certain things you just take your friends to do, right? Hey, yeah, we're just going to go day drinking. Yeah, we're going to go to these bars and all that stuff. For your parents, it's a little bit more sightsee stuff, but at the same time, you don't want to put them in all this traffic like, oh, yeah, let's go to the Hollywood sign and then we'll sit in this line for an hour. The last time my mom came to town, I took her to the temple in Chino Hills, and it was perfect. It was the perfect activity. Sure, we had to drive quite like an hour in the car, but since it was the middle of the day, there was barely any traffic. We went all the way over there. She loved the temple. It for those that are listening and are ever visiting LA and you're ever with your mom, dad, or you yourself want to go, the temple in Chino Hills, it is actually so beautiful. I originally discovered it when my friends, who I'm just name dropping after name dropping, Anushka and Anurag came here to do some engagement picture shoots, and they took pictures there. And it is a very common spot because it is beautiful. So this time they came to town. It was a little unexpected. They came to town to visit a family member that was just more so, how do I put this correctly? On their way out, right? Like they're not doing too good. So a family friend member this is. And so you want to see them before it's, too late, right? You want to see them one last time before you attend their funeral. And this is getting a little dark, right? Where my parents are at that age where it's just left and right, right? It's becoming more of a frequent thing where they're attending funerals on a higher frequency to the extent that I'm attending weddings. And it's that age, right? Like you start seeing it much, much more. So they originally, that was the plan when they came here. The issue is trying to coordinate that. And I made the mistake of also doubling down. And I thought, oh, okay, they'll be a little bit busy with that. I'll book a hotel, a rental car, and they can kind of do their own thing as they please. And then we'll have like dinner or lunch 1 or 2 days and it'll be good. There was no plans. And then I doubled down with also having Sim and Uman in town. So it's just like shit. So I was stressing and I did not feel like recording anywhere in that. But overall, this weekend was super fun. I will say that, mainly just because expensive, but fun, right? Because sometimes they go hand in hand. Because they weren't that stressful. Like seriously, for people that come out of town to LA, I don't know whether it's an age thing or just like we all grew up kind of seeing some of this stuff. Like a lot of people have already gone to the Hollywood sign. A lot of people have already done Santa Monica. A lot of people have, I don't know, whatever tourist attraction. No one really wants to go to museums that I know. So when people come to town, it's just like, hey, we just want to kick it with you, right? We just want to truly hang out with y'all. Go out, try some different restaurants, have some good food, drink, blah, 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 and just hang out overall. And so that's what makes it so easy. I don't know whether it's an age thing of this time period of people, friends coming to town, but it was a good time. The only place new that I discovered was a speakeasy in the Culver Hotel that I'm realizing that is way too specific right now. So let me move on from that. Before that, on Thursday or Wednesday, I think it was Tuesday night actually. No, Wednesday night. We went to the season 2 premiere of Reacher. Now, Reacher is a show on Amazon Prime that has been out for a while, and um, don't confuse it with the guy from The Office who plays Jack Ryan in another Amazon series. So I was kind of bored. I needed a new TV show because nothing really new has come out, and I'm not going to the movies for anything that I've seen recently. So I started watching Reacher. Absolutely binged season 1. Isha and I it just became one of those shows that were just on 24/7. Whether you're working, cooking, cleaning, it's just on, right? So you're kind of passively watching it, but you can still keep up with the storyline because it's not that complicated. Watched that whole thing, and then season 2 premiere happened to be the week after. So we got tickets to this premiere, went to the Culver Theater, and the dude was there. The dude himself was there. And I will admit that in the theater I had to look up his name because I'm not that familiar. The dude is an absolute unit. In the TV show and in real life, that dude is massive. I did not get to meet him, and like a lot of times I try to avoid what's the word? Fangirling. So he came in there. His name is Alan Richter. He comes into the theater. I'm sure a lot of people have seen clips of something similar where they come into the theater. They say, "Hey, blah blah blah. We hope you guys enjoy this. We worked hard, me and my cast members." And he made a little reference, which kind of ruins it because then he's not going to die in season 2, where they're already taping season 3. And so I don't know. This is like things that just started right after the strike ended or what, but overall, I don't know if I would ever go to a movie theater again for a TV show premiere. It was just a different feeling. Like, we were there for a while. You get free popcorn, you get free a soda or whatever, and it just gets a little tiring, right? With the TV show at home, you can kind of just pause whatever, get up, do all this stuff. The action isn't that big. Nothing is that grand of a scale thing, right? Like, it's not like a Marvel movie where it's all these sounds, vivid images, or like, certain scenes where it's like, you got to see this in theater. You got to see this in Dolby Atmos, whatever, all that crap. IMAX. It's just a TV show. A lot of action, and it was cool, doing the experience overall, because now like, next time there's a premiere, might want to save it for something else. But overall, that's what I've been doing this past week. Now, I haven't talked about the Israel Gaza stuff that's been Israel Gaza Palestine stuff that's been happening overseas in a while, mainly because it's like, I'm sure everyone sees enough of it through social media, whether it's Twitter, Threads, Instagram, the news, just notifications on your phone. But it is interesting the things that coincided, right? Like, certain brands will do things that people disagree with, that people get angry with. Like when Republican candidates run and people are like, "Oh, Chick-fil-A funds this candidate, so you should stop going to Chick-fil-A." So something similar, not very similar. Zara messed up. Zara was on one this week, or I guess this past month, and it got really bad. As far as Israel Palestine stuff, the only brand that I've seen people boycott to a big extent is Starbucks. I've been seeing this huge push for people to shop locally and support like the smaller coffee shops and boycott Starbucks because of their contributions that I think is funding Israel. I don't know. I don't know the full detail of it. I just know that people are boycotting Starbucks because of their involvement in overseas conflict. So aside from Starbucks, Zara recently had an ad. I'm pretty sure this only aired in Europe, not even in the States. And the ad was a little, how do I? It was a little messed up. And it kind of depicted images from a war. And people's issue with it was that it was it wasn't sensitive, right? Like, hey, this thing is happening overseas, and you guys have this campaign that comes out, and you're trying to push selling t-shirts. You're trying to push selling these oversized hoodies and jeans and stuff while people are dying left and right. And I don't know whether it was just like a commercial or like a commercial in a set of images that Zara posted. So Zara responds by saying, and then people double down and get mad because they don't like the response, where Zara said, "Hey, we taped all of this back in June or September, over the summer. Basically everything that happened before the Hamas attacks in October. Therefore, we apologize if we offended anyone, but we didn't do this with any intention." Now, people gotta learn, right? Like, these brands are crazy. Actually, let me pull up this story because it actually blew my mind when I read this. I'm getting a little impatient here, but I'm looking for this article that was basically like the CEO, CO. I cannot remember who the person was that worked for Zara. The same person that went out and put that statement was the same person that messaged someone maybe a year or two ago saying, yeah, Israel should have wiped all of you guys out. Because remember, this Israel-Palestine conflict is not something new. It's just something that's gotten to such a large scale. And now with social media being what it is, we see more of it. Now we know more of it. And obviously with the Hamas attacks, it's become even more prominent. But basically, Zara had that campaign. People got offended. And it was offensive, right? You can't have these campaigns with limbs hanging off and stuff like that during a time like this. You got to be a little sensitive to the times, especially if you're just a fashion retailer. People get upset. Zara says, hey, we booked this beforehand, so y'all shouldn't be too mad. And then people are like, yo, what the you know, like, you guys are known for, people just got to apologize, right? Like, you made a mistake. You made a bad call airing this campaign. I don't care whether you spent $1 million, $2 million filming all that content back in June when you did not know any of this was going to happen in October, November, December, whatever. You got to throw the ad away, or just hold on to it, right? Hold on to that ad, hold on to all the clothes that go along with that ad and that campaign and that push and that holiday season, and just reinvent, right? Film another campaign, or just put out the clothes. Do something that doesn't lead to what ended up happening, because you just made a mistake. And let's say you make the mistake, just apologize, bro. You just gotta apologize. Just say, yo, you know what? That's our bad. We stand with all of this stuff. We support this. It was our fault. We removed this person from their position. Because look, these people that are making these big level calls where it's like, this campaign has got the green flag and it can go, just fire them. They will be okay. Just fire them. They got enough money. They'll lay low for a little bit. And then eventually they have a friend of a friend that brings them back in on another project in another company, and people will forget them, because we don't really care about people like that, right? Like when the NBA owner for the Los Angeles Clippers was being racist and basically being absolutely, was it racist? Yeah, he was racial to basically black people. And I don't know if you know this, but there's a majority black people on the Los Angeles Clippers. So they got rid of him. Donald Sterling, I think it was. Oh, I hope I'm not getting that name wrong. So they got rid of him. You fire him, right? Hey, you know what? You made a mistake that's a big scale that reflects bad on the entire company. Whether it was just you, a lot of people, you got to go. You think that dude's scrapping for parts right now? He does not care. He does not care. And eventually, he'll come back into the fold, maybe not be able to buy another team, but he'll make money elsewhere. That dude's a billionaire. It doesn't matter. Same thing with this dude that probably greenlighted the Zara ad. And if it's a smaller scale guy, then we'll even forget his name faster. You get rid of him, maybe he drops a couple notches and then makes a living again. So then people were taking this shit to the streets, throwing clothes all over New York City. I think I saw something over on Times Square, and there's a Zara there. I don't want to be mistaken here. People just boycotting the heck out of this. People were entering malls protesting people shopping Zara. And by people shopping Zara, I mean they were just protesting, chanting some stuff, no type of violence, no type of pointing, big, whatever it may be. They were just in there protesting. Now, I don't know if you've never ever been into a Zara yourself, but that shit is packed to the brim, bro. So if you're boycotting Zara, man, that's dedication. I don't know. Look, for these big retailers, Zara, Balenciaga, Gucci, they have room to do shit like this, right? Like they will survive. They'll be fine. Even though all these people are kind of boycotting Zara, if I go into a Zara in any mall right now, that shit's going to be full. That line's going to be full with returns and sales, and they will make plenty of money this year, whether people have been boycotting it or not. I'm not saying you shouldn't boycott it, but what I'm saying is just like Zara's going to be all right. Look at Balenciaga, Remember earlier this year when they had people when they had kids in bondage uniforms? What kid do you know wears leather? They had them in bondage outfits along with their little stuffed teddy bears, and the teddy bears were wearing bondage and stuff. And a couple weeks ago, Cardi B was on the runway doing Balenciaga. Balenciaga ads everywhere. They're fine. I don't even think they took a hit. They ran a bad ad. It didn't go good. I don't know how they handled it publicly. I'm not really sure. But look, they're fine. Same thing with Zara. As big of a mistake as they may have made, they're going to be fine. I'm kind of just spending this podcast talking about a lot of like current things going on. I think the last couple of 2 episodes, I've been talking more of like general, like life events, right? Like talking about things like Secret Santa, workplace, holiday parties, and things like that. This one's more so just like, hey, this is what's kind of going on in the world that people already know about, but this is my take on it. The other thing that caught me by surprise this week was Marvel dropping Jonathan Majors. And I apologize that I just said caught me by surprise, because it was you kind of see this coming, right? Like a big company like Marvel is not going to commit to keeping this person as their main villain for the next 5-7 years if you got assault charges coming on you. Now, I haven't stayed up to date with the full Majors trial, but he got out of some of it and then got reaccused of something else. And if you're Marvel, if you're any company, any big public company where you're putting people out there, and in movies especially, you're not going to stick with them. Like, look at what happened to Johnny Depp. Companies dropped him. Who knows if that dude will ever get another Pirates of the Caribbean? People dropped him immediately. And now that he went through trial, was ruled innocent, now you will probably start seeing him and stuff, right? He had the Dior ad. He'll have more stuff after that. I'm sure we'll see him in a movie. Maybe he's the person that replaces Jonathan Majors. That would be pretty wild. But you kind of started seeing it with the Marvel movies, right? Like for those, there are going to be some spoiler alerts here for those that have not caught up in Loki season 2, but I'm not spoiling that much. And Ant-Man, excuse me for a second. But you kind of start seeing how they started working him off, right? Like, hey, if this goes good, then we can keep him on somehow. Like we can twist this story very easily, and then boom, he's our big bad again. But more than likely, we see this kind of going bad. So we're going to change the person at the end of Loki. Instead of having Kang, who Jonathan Majors played, He Who Remains, as the person kind of in charge of all this multiverse timelines, the big bad. We'll replace that with a good guy to fill that role to end this Loki series, and then we'll eventually work on bringing in a new person. And that's what, like, I don't know how much this has to do with how bad Marvel has been lately, but it's got to be a big factor. Before, when they were working on, the Avengers leading up to Thanos and leading up to Infinity War and Endgame, it seemed like there was always a plan, right? It seemed like there was always a villain. Sure, they might have changed who the villain was, but with that much CGI, it's not that bad, right? Like you can figure that out. So they changed the villain up. And by villain, I mean the person that actually played Thanos. There was a vision. There was a vision there where I don't mean the character vision. I mean, like, you could see that they were heading somewhere. All of the post-credit scenes led to something. Now, if you go to a Marvel movie and you see a post-credit scene, it's like, what does this mean? What does this even mean? You guys are just throwing this random shit at me now. It doesn't lead me to be excited for the next movie. It just leaves me like, what? Do y'all even know what you're doing? It's okay to say it. I'm just as confused. And I understand, going through strikes, going through all this Jonathan Major stuff, that it may be unclear, but maybe just take a breather. Maybe start a couple new characters in here, work them up, and then maybe make them another movie. Similar to what they did with like Punisher, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, as bad as that actor is. Where you have these smaller projects that just are for entertainment. You don't need to make $1 billion in the box office. Make $5 and just entertain me. So I am interested to see, with them dropping Jonathan Majors permanently now, what will happen. A lot of people are speculating that it's going to be Doctor Doom and the Fantastic Four will be back into the fold. X-Men will be back into the fold because of post-credit scenes in Captain Marvel or whatever the Marvels movie that just came out. But no one's excited for this crap, right? Like people were talking about Infinity War. People were talking about the next Avengers. People were talking about that stuff. Now all people talk about is like, yeah, I don't go watch that shit anymore. I don't waste my time going to the theater for that crap anymore. They're not taking my money. And I don't know Marvel too well, so I don't really have like, oh, I hope they bring in this character because he'll be an awesome villain. I saw, the internet speculations of Johnny Depp being the new big bad, and I think that would be awesome, but we'll see what happens. Now we talk about a little bit NBA stuff. Now remember, like I said, I try to make sports interesting for those that don't even watch this stuff, but you had to have seen the stuff that's been happening recently. And whether your boyfriend, whether you got a guy in your life, whether you're a lady that watches this stuff, you've probably seen what's been happening. Recently, Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek freak as they call him, had a temper tantrum, essentially. The dude scored 64 points, and normally on an occasion like this, they like to give the person the game ball, whether they break a record, right? Like if someone breaks a scoring record, whether someone breaks a 3 points made in a game, a rookie scores their first points, which ties into this story. They give them the game ball. So you can kind of commemorate, right? Like you sign it, you hang it up somewhere in your office, hang it up somewhere in your house, and you commemorate it. Recently, Giannis was playing the Pacers. So the Bucks were playing the Pacers, and game ends. Giannis ends with 64 points, so he wanted the ball. And I think the Pacers kept it. This is the story, right? Where there was a clip where right when the game ended, someone on the Bucks team staff, not the team, collected the ball. So they had the ball. But then Giannis is like, yo, where's this ball at, my guy? I'm taking this shit home, right? I just scored 64. Give me the ball, bro. They ended up, jeez, they being the Indiana Pacers, apparently kept the game ball because one of their rookies had scored their first points ever in their career. And it was a free throw. They scored 1 point. Rookie scored 1 point and kept the game ball. So it becomes this weird thing where it's like, yo, I did something bigger than that. You know, like that person scored 1 point. Do you know who I am? I'm an NBA champion. I'm an MVP. Give me the game ball. I just scored 64 points. And if I'm asking for it, I should get it. They, I guess, told him no. And then the dude storms into, like, people are holding you back. The issue is like when this is all public, when you're arguing with people, when you're doing all this stuff, while all these cameras that are wired up in this stadium are all pointing at you. They all see you doing something. There are people in the crowd that are all recording you. And so, my opinion, I love the dude, right? He's absolutely amazing. But it's like, bro, this is a bad look, man. And it's just a bad look for like the league overall, right? Like, who there has to be a deciding person, group, something that decides, like, okay, hey, the game ball is going to go to this person. So after every game, we collect the game ball and then we send it off to whomever. We case it up, we put it in a glass case, we sign it, we don't sign it. What the hell would we sign it for? We add a little placard that says Giannis 64-point game versus this person on this date, and we send it to their house. What a great thing. Oh, that's actually a decent idea. But anyway, since that doesn't exist, it becomes this weird thing of like, yeah, we kept it. Why do you get to keep it? I want it. I just did something bigger. And so while all these cameras are on him, the dude rushes the locker room. People are holding him back, and it's like, yo, my guy, what are you doing, man? At least just walk back there calmly, be like, and then argue in the tunnel. Argue where there aren't 30 cameras, 100 cameras pointing at you. More interesting than that, there's a guy named Draymond Green that you may have heard of. Now, the dude, don't let all this other stuff fool you. He's a good basketball player. Amazing. A savant. Very high IQ, great defensive ability, and a key reason that the Warriors have won so many championships. Is he the main reason? No, but he's a big reason. If people think Draymond Green isn't good at basketball, I'm telling you, they don't know basketball. Now, it's one thing last week when I joked about like, oh, if people tell you LeBron is that's one thing, right? That's just like barbershop talk. But as far as Draymond Green's abilities, the dude's amazing. You would want him on your team. The issue is now is the dude keeps punching the shit out of everyone or putting them in chokeholds. Last year, there was controversy because he punched a player on the team. He punched someone. And this is from like a private practice. And the video gets leaked. So then it's like, hey, how did this happen? Like you don't ever see that many videos from practices get leaked. So how did this happen? Who did this? Like there's a number of people that are in this room that we can narrow it down to, right? Half the players are on the court because they're practicing. Coaches are on the court practicing. There's probably maybe one or two people doing film. Who we can point at who did this. But they let out it got released. And even before that, he's had a history of it's going to sound strange, kicking people in the balls. Right? Like he would basically flail his legs or extremities to a certain extent where if he got fouled or if he was going up for a shot and he got bumped to a side to an extent, he would push his leg out and more than likely kick the person in the balls or kick them, injure them, throw his elbow. It's like, yo, this isn't basketball. Also, if the lighting is getting bad on me right now, I apologize. The sun is setting right in front of me, and I didn't want to set up the aperture light. But anyways, this isn't basketball. So then the punch happened last year. This year, he's put a player in a chokehold. He's probably bumped a couple people a couple wrong ways throughout the course of the season. In addition to the most recent thing is he swung his hand back and hit another player on an opposing team. Where it's like, hey, that wasn't a natural reaction, right? You swung your fist around to hit someone. Now this dude is suspended indefinitely. Now this doesn't happen often, where it's a player where they tell you, hey, you're good, bro. You're not going to be playing this week or any week after this for what we know. Indefinitely means indefinitely, where until we know anything better, you're not playing. And I bring this up because it's like, as someone that loves basketball, loves watching basketball, I've already doubted Steph Curry's greatness once. This dude is a top 10 player, maybe all time. The greatest three-point shooter ever, hands down. Maybe shooter. I don't know about mid-range and stuff, but the greatest three-point shooter ever. And he still got it, right? The dude still, it's not like he's washed up. As he proved a couple years ago, winning a championship when he beat the Dallas Mavericks in the Western Conference Finals and then Boston in the finals. The dude still has an aptitude to win. You could have him on your team and your team's chances now change for the better. If he was paired with LeBron on the Lakers, more than likely that team wins a championship. But the whole reason of him staying on that team is they have a thing, right? They have a core group. They have a core coach. They have a core system that works for them, that has worked for them for many years. They won a championship. They bring in Kevin Durant, a top 25 talent ever. They win a couple more championships. Kevin Durant leaves. They restructure a little bit, have a bumpy year. Then they win again. Why? Because of Steph Curry. He's been there throughout all of this. And now this dude's talent is just being wasted. He looks to his left. He got this dude that's punching everyone. He looks to his right. He sees a dude that's just a shadow of himself, right? In Klay Thompson. He's not really shooting at the clip that he used to. He sees another young buck down the bench, Andrew Wiggins, who played his ass off when they won the championship. He can't get a bucket. No one else on this team can get a bucket. They don't really have that much size. They're getting bullied. He's got to do everything. So it's like, hey, is it possible to trade this dude? I don't know his contract. I'm not that in touch with basketball where I know how long people are on certain teams. Oh, this guy's on a 2-year contract, so he can't go anywhere. I don't know all that. But the dude's talent is being wasted. And it's not like he's buddies with these dudes, right? Like the dude's married, he has kids. He's not hanging out with single Draymond, or I think Draymond's married now, single Clay, single Andrew Wiggins. He's not like buddies with these dudes. So maybe if I'm Steph, do you entertain being like, hey, I want to go somewhere else? And because of everything I've given you, I'd like to have my choice of where to go, right? Like, I would like to tell Los Angeles, call up Los Angeles, tell them, oh my gosh, in addition to Andrew Wiggins, there's a dude named Chris Paul, a legendary point guard, but he can't do that anymore. His washed up ass is on the team. So if I'm Steph, I call up Los Angeles and I say, hey, make a package. Put in D'Angelo Russell, Christian Wood, every other player other than Vanderbilt, Reeves, LeBron, and AD. Put them all in a package and send them to Golden State, and I'll come to LA. Sure, Los Angeles will have 5 players on their team, but they'll win. And as someone that is in LA right now and I could take some pride in that, why would I say no? That would be amazing. That would be amazing. All of this just to say, like, man, poor Steph Curry. I wrap this all up with saying, welcome to episode 17 of the Ajay Patel Show. I completely forgot to do an intro. My name is Ajay Patel, and we have now reached the end of the episode. And in the next coming episodes, like I told you guys, I want to put out a couple episodes so I can hit 20 on the 1st. In the next couple episodes, I'm going to probably talk about some New Year's resolutions. I know it's something that a lot of people do, and a lot of people kind of mock because it's like, oh, you should be in the gym in October. You shouldn't be in the gym on January 1st. All right, bro, relax. You know, there is some genuineness to starting fresh. And yeah, time is a construct, blah, blah, blah. Who cares, bro? Like, if you're deciding to go to the gym, sure, who cares? It lasts 4 weeks, 2 months, 3 months. It's nice to have a resolution. It's nice to have something to say, like, hey, you know what? I'm going to change this certain thing. I'm going to hope to be a little like this, a little less like this. There's nothing wrong with that. I used to mock it as well, so I kind of understand. But when I think about it more, it's just like, whatever, you know? It's the same thing as saying, you know what? I'll start eating clean on Monday. Why Monday? Why not in 2 hours? So, all that to say, I'm going to be talking some New Year's resolutions. I actually head to Dallas tomorrow when this comes out, and hopefully grab some friends, put them on the podcast. If I don't see you before Christmas, I wish you guys all a Merry Christmas. My name has been Ajay Patel. Make sure you wear Express Men, and I'll see you next week. Bye.